Something different today. Something very different today. Today is not a journal entry. Oh no. Today I'm gonna be walking you through what it's like to mix the Good Terms rock band song, Cough. I'm gonna be walking you through what it was like to mix this rock song. How do I feel today? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I feel today. It matters how I felt when I was mixing this song. But yeah, I'm gonna try to transport my mind back to where I was when I mixed this song. My hope is to kind of analyze how I was feeling while I was mixing this, how I was reacting to things, why I was making the decisions that I was making. There's gonna be a lot of screen capture on this one, so if you're trying to cut down on your screen time this year, then maybe choose a different video. September 7th, 2022. Let's see what I was thinking about back then. Let's see how close I can get. So it looks like about a week before I got to mixing this, I had just gotten back from a tour and I was readjusting to home life. Consequently, I'm talking about wanting to mix more, which I think is pretty cute. I was probably trying some stuff out in this mix. Real try hard over here. I was really concerned with getting my data back. You know, when you use too much data on a family plan, your phone like slows down and you like can't do anything. I was really concerned with that, to the point of writing down wowie G. I didn't think this day would ever come. Poor guy, I'm just exploiting Geo from 3 years ago. So we'll see if any of my decisions can be traced back to that. But I will say the next entry I have in here is dealing with my old roommates bringing in a street cat. You can cut the cat thing. Enough talking. I'm not teaching you anything here. Not a tutorial, unless you find yourself having to mix Cough by Good Terms and you want the exact mix that I did of it. Here we are. Welcome. What I typically do when I open up a mix is I'll try to establish what my home base is. It's typically a chorus, obviously, but I feel like so much of the experience of listening to a song is affected by the context of the song, right? In and out of sections, where you feel like your home base is, how zoomed in you are, how zoomed out you are, where you're allotting your attention. So a lot of time I'll just start with the chorus and I'll build up the chorus and get it to a place where I feel like I'm getting a sense of what the thing is, what the song's doing, what it's trying to do, what I'm trying to extract, and then furthermore project onto it. We're in this together. We're gonna figure out where my head was at with this thing. So let's just dive in the drums and see what's going on. Let's solo them up first. Slamming, baby. Most of my mixing is gonna start at the overheads. I wanna see the space that the drums were recorded in. This is gonna give me kind of the best vibe representation. Obviously we have a million fucking samples on this thing, but this is where I start. I just kinda wanna see what's happening. So I already hear like kind of a fluffy sounding snare. I don't have a whole lot of kick in there, but I'll probably try to take away a lot of that. So let's just see where I went from there. And once I get overheads set up, I'll start bringing in my kick and snare. So overheads. Taking away a lot of the ring. Smashing it beyond belief. Trying to get rid of a little snare. Little vibe. So you can see that like I'm actively trying to subtract stuff from the overheads. My thought with this type of music, or at least at this time, was trying to clear the way for kick and snare. So all this stuff I'm doing, you can see that it's all subtractive. And then I just have like one goodizer at the end. And I distorted it a little bit so it's a little more crunchy. Let's go kick and snare land. All of these are samples. We made a sample out of the recorded kick. So what you're hearing is a sample of the kick that we recorded. Kick in sample, we've got a nice little punch. Kick out, we've got some ass, and our Sampura sample is really just kind of like teeth. So all the kick samples together sound like this. Super focused, super biting. Let's see if I can find anything interesting. I love SPL Transient Designer. Obviously love Saturn. I think I was starting to use Vitamin back then. I wanted you to feel assaulted every subdivision of this song. And when you're not getting slapped by drums, you're getting slapped by guitars on the side. Okay, let's see how my snares turned out. Other snare sample. Snare bottom. And then we were calling this like full snare sample, which was just like something that I can that has a little bit more ambience and maybe a little bit more of a stereo image that I can bring up too. And all of these have been phase aligned. All of these were thrown into auto line to make sure that they're in phase with each other. Obviously, they're not going to be perfectly in phase, but close enough just so we can get a little bit more low end. And that's another Sampura sample, just snare top. And that's another Sampura sample. Again, one of those like flavor samples that I can be like, okay, if I'm feeling like I have a lot of snare direct and I just want to bring up some stereo imaging around it, I can grab that and I don't have to be like digging through the other samples to bring that out. So all together with no plugins, and then with plugs, just trying to make it slap. So kick and snare together. So, and once I have those feeling good, I'll put those into a group and then I'll mix them into the overheads. So kick, snare, and overhead sound like this with plugins. Which is a good start, but we need some ambience. We need to feel like it's like a little more exciting in the stereo field. I have a bunch of other stuff here. Is this interesting? Do you find this interesting at all? I don't know, whatever. Once I get kick, snare, and overheads, feeling like I have them in a good place that I can still further manipulate them, but they're not like driving me crazy. They're not like tugging my ear. That's when I'll go into reverbs or grab some more of the like room mics that we captured. For me, that's the stuff that makes like the drums live a little bit more. They sound good. They just need to sound larger than life now. And for me, that is reverbs and parallel compression. I'll show you my first reverb. So this is without it. And this is with it. Just like fills up around the snare. It kind of like makes everything a little more cohesive, especially with like the use of this many samples. It's really easy for the samples to feel detached from like the overheads. Because I'm using the overheads as like, this is like the human element. And then we have the superhuman element, which is all the samples. I have a tom room that I throw kick and toms into. I can just show you like a quick, without it, with it. You get the point. And then I have a dedicated snare verb, which is probably a plate. Let's see what I was using back then. And you can buy this preset. You can just Venmo me $200 and you can get this preset. GB snare, suck no more. So without it, with it. What I'm going for with a snare reverb a lot of the time is to get that big explosion of the snare and then using the ambience, using this plate to kind of taper the snare down into the next hit. So it's just like cannon, cannon, cannon. With all of this being said, I add a parallel compression bus, which I'm just smacking the absolute hell out of everything we just mixed. All the drums, all the reverbs, they're all going to this bus. I'll just put it in solo. A lot of my drum sculpting here is when I have all the rest of the band in, I can come to my parallel compression. If I wanted a little bit more ambience, I'll just show you. So like, this is with the dry drum signal and the parallel compression. Now, if I change this to a faster attack, it's gonna bring out a little bit more of the ambience. It's gonna fill up a little bit more. If I were to go for a faster attack with this, I'd be prioritizing ambience over impact. Heavy song about, self-judgment, introspection. I want to get smacked. I want to beat down. I'm beating myself up here, so why would I take it easy on you with the drums? All right, moving on to bass. So once we have our drums feeling good, not bothering me. That's really what mixing is. Working on something until it doesn't bother me anymore. This is my bass playing, and you get to hear it in solo. We have two signals here. We have a DI and we have a distortion, which I believe was a Rat through an SVT, classic. And let's hear the distortion by itself. At least at this time in my life, I was really prioritizing low end for the DI, and then I was letting the distortion handle the crunchy high stuff. So both those went into its own subgroup so that I could marry them a little bit more. Squeezing the sausage a little bit. I was trying to bring out some teeth with the 1176 and then smooth over the low end with the tape machine. Again, a little more teeth with the 3A. I just do not use this 1073 anymore. But maybe I should, it sounds cool. Gives it a little more clank. So this is drums and bass. And I am pumping the bass around the kick, just so they can live a little bit separate from each other, but also have like a little bit of a better relationship. It's like living with your significant other and you have two different bedrooms. Yeah, it's just like that. You can hear both of them, they're both doing their job. They're not fighting for priority, they're in it together. That's the role of drums and bass. We're supporting your hopes and dreams, you vocalist, you guitar player. Let's move on to guitars. Zach sent me two rhythms. Let's hear what they sounded like before. Sound great. It's looking like I went and, again, tried to make it a little bit more aggressive, especially with the 3A, with the Vitamin, really bringing out the bite. Crunch with the Vitamin, and then the ultimate crunch monster, the L2. Into Saturn, into an 1176, into this, which I just don't use anymore. And then just adding even more, harsh to it. And then let's see what Ivan's lead looks like. Let's see where we started. Yeah, just like a little like blurry. I don't want it to feel blurry. I want it to feel like deliberate. I want to hear pick. And I threw him into a little bit of a room here. I'll unmute that. Oh, it's unmuted. For whatever reason, Ivan's parts always sound so cool in a little bit of a room. I don't know, there's something that's like that just makes it a little bit more human. I'd like rhythm guitar to feel like almost as stable as our kick and snare and bass. But with the lead guitar, I love being able to like throw it into a room or just make it sound a little bit quirkier. I feel like I can get away with a little bit more fuckery with lead guitar. Okay, then moving on to Kid. I remember wanting to treat this kind of like a piano, or like a whirly, like something that's gonna be like moving back and forth, just providing some like ear candy stuff. And then our last two leads are a Kid lead and a Zach lead. Harmonies, I think I put both of them into a little bit of a room, just to kind of spread them out a little bit. Drums, bass, guitar, no longer bother me. I'm catching a vibe at this point. There's some other stuff in here like synth and keyboard stuff. But to me, what makes or breaks a mix, at least emotionally, feeling good about it, feeling like it slaps, feeling like essentially I'm ready to continue my journey with the song. This is home. We've created a home. It's sounding awesome. So once I feel like that's working, then I'll head over to Vocal Land. A lot of the time I'll get the instrumental, let's call the instrumental up, like I'll establish our home, I'll feel good about our home. And then for Kid, in this circumstance, I've worked with Kid so many times, I have a signal chain that works more or less for most songs, and then I can go in and I can adjust depending on the song, right? Or the vibe or whatever. So a lot of the time I'll get that set up with no reverb or anything, and then I'll walk away for a couple hours because I can just get trapped with my emotional attachment to the instrumental and how amazing that sounds, and then adding like the most important element to it, the lead vocal, I can get a little tripped up in my brain on my scope. Like it's hard for me to zoom out. So I'll take a little break. Let's assume that I've taken the break and let's add our vocal in. This entire process is so malleable that if I'm listening to this, I'm making little changes, I'm adding reverb, stuff like that. So this walkthrough isn't gonna be representative of my actual time doing this, but what am I supposed to do, huh? So let's hear Kid's amazing vocal performance on this one. That sounded sarcastic, but I assure you it is not. One of my favorite vocal performances by Kid. Okay, so this is raw vocal.
Habits I'm not so proud of. These habits I'm not so proud of.
Obviously a huge fan of the 2A on vocals, absolutely slamming him. It's like 20 dB of gain reduction.
Habits I'm not.
A lot of my ideology with vocals is subtractive. Anything that I'm hearing that is bothering me sonically, instead of trying to overcome it with additive stuff, I'm just gonna try to grab, everyone's got a unique honk, go for the honk. And then once the honk's gone, you got a beautiful sounding vocal.
Habits I'm not so proud of.
Yes, I use CLA vocals sometimes. I find that it, for whatever reason, brings the vocal right up to your face. There you go, Chris.
Habits I'm not.
De-esser, Saturn with a little bit of additive up top, because it is pop punk after all, isn't it?
Habits I'm not so proud of.
And then let's see what I settled on for ambience.
Habits I'm not so proud of.
Definitely more wet than usual for me.
Habits I'm not so proud of. These habits I'm not so proud of.
So this one's interesting, like in terms of where I want Kid to sit in the mix. Like Kid, Ivan, Zach, all incredible songwriters, so we need to hear what the fuck they're saying. At the same time, I wanted this to feel kind of like a struggle, like you're kind of like, you have like a hand stretched out to Kid, and you're trying to get to him, and you never quite get to him until like the bridge. Once the instrumental opens up a little bit, creates some space. So he's definitely a little bit lower than where I would put him now, but I think the effect that it creates is really nice. It's very isolating, and it's very like claustrophobic. We got a double and we have two harmonies.
Habits I'm not so proud of. These habits I'm not so proud of.
I probably could have gone a little bit heavier on the de-esser, but other vocal stuff we have in the choruses. Oz, don't tell anybody in good terms, but I can't stand Ah vocals. Those are cool. I like those. Cool. That's a big picture. Why don't we listen to it down? If I hear anything that I think is maybe of interest to you, we can talk about it. But I'm definitely not reinventing the wheel here.
I just wanna cough the shit that I was sucking.
Let's talk about this intro vocal.
I just wanna cough the shit that I was sucking off isn't strong enough.
Because we have our home base set, right? Clear vocals, big, huge, impactful. I wanted to create the opposite of that for the intro. So he's in a room in this weird space that we've set up.
I just wanna cough the shit that I was sucking off isn't strong.
You're kind of like in between two versions of Kid here. You have his vocal, you have his guitar, you're placed somewhere in the middle. You can kind of make out what he's saying, but you're also like, you're still trying to kind of get your bearings.
I just wanna cough the shit that I was sucking.
There's like people talking. Did he just say sucking off? It's like this whole disorienting experience. So it's like setting up this intro where it kind of feels not super confident. It's almost as if that transition is like, fuck whoever that guy was. This is who I am now, when we're coming into this big riff section. So this first verse I feel like is a little bit different than our chorus, where this is the first time we're really hearing Kid right in your face. He's got something important to say, so I wanted to bring him up like right to your nose. You're now focusing on Kid. What the fuck is this song about? We get Kid right here, and then for the pre-chorus, we get clouded a little bit by these guitars, and it opens up again. So we get like this nice contrast between really zooming in on important parts of his vocal and in the arrangement. This is your chance as a listener to really hone in to what he's saying this time, because you may have missed it the first time. So really like throwing this vocal straight in your face. And now we're hum. And like I feel like all the decisions that I've made up until our big chorus here is because of our big chorus. This is our big payoff. So like it's like a reference point. It's like a landmark, you know? So that's just how I feel. How do you feel?
This isn't pop punk. This is. Blah, blah, blah.
Get real.
I barely feel any joy, uninspired and unemployed.
Like throughout the song, we have this kind of like sine wave of like vulnerability with Kid and with this production, right? We have places where like we're really drawn into him, and then we get back to bashing, and then really in and back to bashing. It's like this up and down of self-awareness and vulnerability and openness. So just trying to reflect that in the mix, bring him up a little bit, maybe throw him into a room. And for me, the star of this section is that guitar part, the wham, 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 wham. It's like a fucking alarm, and it's right in between Kid. So Kid sings something, we get the alarm. Automating those wham, 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 whams up, probably. Yeah, you can see I'm doing that. And this section's so interesting because we get this like brief moment of like show-offy stuff. We get, 16 bars of some expression between Brendan and I. So obviously trying to bring that out in the mix, make that heard, make the bass part heard, make those drums sound awesome. I would say like this 16 bars, like we're in my parents' basement. It feels a little sunken, it feels moody. I've automated all this like vibe stuff up. It's a vibe change, it's a scene change. We're not still at home, so things need to change. And a lot of this has to do with Zach's production. A lot of this is me just trying to complement the changes that I feel like he's trying to make and the emotional reaction I'm having to his changes. Probably could have de-assed myself a little bit more there.
Habits I'm not so proud of.
Maybe too much. And then we have to reconcile with the shit that we're sucking off here. Things aren't going so well right here. So to me, that meant snare verb way up, kick way up. This is the final battle with yourself here. Guitar's way up, kick and snare automated up. It's gotta be huge, gotta slap, gotta hurt you a little bit. And these vocals at the end.
I just wanna go!
A distant memory. Same lyrics, but I want to feel like you're really reaching for them, really reaching. It's just buried. You have to somehow get through this assault to get to those vocals. And then after all that, you do the same fucking thing again. I think song analysis and mix analysis is kind of the same thing. I think like you're emotionally drawn into lyrics, you want to make changes in the mix, you want to make changes to how you're perceiving this whole thing. So there you go, there you have it. Do you want something else? Is there anything else I can give you for this? For when you go to mix Cough by Good Terms? Is there anything else I can give you? Yeah, I know this wasn't the most technical mix walkthrough at all, but you want to get technical, watch maybe a better mixer or something. I think so much of mixing is confidently chasing down emotion. Although I still think that this job is highly technical. Maybe other mix engineers are different in this way, but I do feel like, you know, my only metric for what I think is good is if I have an emotional attachment to something. I can only move on from the drums if I'm being assaulted to an appropriate degree. You finally get the whole picture once you've had experience with each and every track. Maybe I'm an outlier in this, but that's just how I mix and that's how I like to interact, especially music that I've had a hand in making. Yeah, I'm sorry if this wasn't as technical as you wanted. It is a little adventure you get to have in the old noggin. I love this song. I love this mix. I would definitely change things now that I'm 3 years older. It's still doing the thing that I would want to get from it if I were to mix it now. In that way, I think it's still a success. I can't imagine you learned anything. Not everything's a learning experience. Okay, if you've got a fucking problem with this mix, take your criticism elsewhere. Take your criticism inward. How's that? Leave me and my boys alone. Listen to Burnout by the band Good Terms. Okay, goodbye.
I just wanna